The Nephilim DNA Project. Why governments are collecting your DNA. What if I told you that governments worldwide are secretly collecting DNA samples not for your health, but to identify something far more ancient and terrifying? Hidden within the pages of forbidden texts lies evidence of a bloodline so powerful, so dangerous, that those in control will stop at nothing to track it down. The Nephilim, the giants mentioned in Numbers 13 who made the Israelite spies feel like grasshoppers, weren't just tall humans. They were hybrid beings, part human, part something else entirely. And their genetic signature still flows through certain bloodlines today. By the end of this deep dive, you'll understand why mass DNA collection programs, ancestry websites, and even COVID testing may all be part of a coordinated effort to map these ancient bloodlines. You'll discover what the Book of Enoch reveals about forbidden knowledge, why governments fear certain genetic markers, and how this connects to prophecies about the end times. The rabbit hole goes deeper than you imagine, and the implications will shake your understanding of reality itself. The evidence begins in Numbers chapter 13, where 12 spies scout the Promised Land and return terrified. They report seeing the Anakim, descendants of the Nephilim, describing themselves as grasshoppers in comparison. But here's what mainstream archaeology won't tell you. These weren't metaphors. The Book of Enoch, removed from the biblical canon for being too dangerous, provides explicit details about the Watchers, fallen angels who descended to earth and bred with human women. Enoch chapter 30 describes how these beings shared forbidden knowledge, advanced technology, genetic manipulation, and cosmic secrets. The offspring were giants with supernatural abilities and corrupted DNA. Jubilees chapter 6 confirms this narrative, explaining how God scattered the nations after Babel specifically to prevent the concentration of these bloodlines. Archaeological evidence supports this. Megalithic structures worldwide show construction techniques beyond ancient human capability. Modern genetic research has identified specific markers in human DNA that don't match normal evolutionary patterns. Comment which source surprises you most: the biblical accounts, the Book of Enoch's detailed descriptions, or the archaeological evidence that mainstream science refuses to acknowledge. Here's the forbidden truth they don't want you to know. The Nephilim bloodline never disappeared. It went underground, preserved through specific family lines that have maintained their genetic heritage for millennia. Government DNA collection isn't about health records or solving crimes. It's about mapping these bloodlines before something awakens them. The Book of Jubilees chapter 23 prophesies that in the end times lifespans will be shortened and evil generations will arise. But it also speaks of restoration when certain bloodlines return to their covenant. Intelligence agencies know this. They've been tracking Rh-negative blood types, specific genetic markers, and unusual DNA sequences that don't fit standard human evolution. Why do you think ancestry companies like 23andMe and Ancestry DNA suddenly became popular? Why did governments worldwide implement mass DNA collection during the pandemic? They're not just building databases, they're hunting for something. The Nephilim genetics carry dormant abilities, enhanced strength, psychic capabilities, resistance to certain diseases, and most importantly, the potential to access forbidden knowledge that was sealed away after the flood. This pattern repeats throughout history. Every major civilization that discovered these bloodlines either tried to eliminate them or harness their power. The Roman Empire, the Third Reich, and now modern governments all sought the same thing: control over humanity's hidden genetic heritage. Today's DNA collection programs serve multiple purposes. First, they identify carriers of Nephilim genetics. Second, they track bloodlines that might pose a threat to established power structures. Third, they're preparing for something biblical scholars call the return, a prophesied time when these dormant abilities will reactivate. Notice how certain families throughout history have maintained unusual influence despite lacking obvious advantages. How some individuals display capabilities that seem to transcend normal human limitations. The elite bloodlines know their heritage and have worked for centuries to suppress others while maintaining their own genetic advantages. The COVID pandemic provided the perfect cover for mass genetic sampling. Millions of people willingly provided DNA samples, unknowingly participating in the largest genetic mapping project in human history. The data isn't being used for public health. It's being analyzed for markers that shouldn't exist in normal human DNA. The mystery of the Nephilim DNA project reveals humanity's hidden history and suppressed potential. Governments fear these bloodlines because they represent a direct challenge to artificial control systems. When individuals with this genetic heritage awaken to their true nature, they become impossible to manipulate through conventional means. The ancient texts weren't mythology, they were historical records and warnings. The same forces that corrupted humanity before the flood are active today, but now they're using technology instead of direct intervention. They're racing against time because prophecy suggests these bloodlines will play a crucial role in humanity's spiritual awakening. Your DNA carries more than just physical traits. It holds the memory of your ancestors and their connection to divine knowledge. The establishment fears what happens when enough people discover their true heritage and the abilities that come with it. Peepaw says, "The blood remembers what the mind forgets, and that's why they're so desperate to map every drop." Follow for the next forbidden scroll that reveals how to protect your genetic privacy and awaken your dormant potential.